Everybody, thank you for joining us. For those who do, and I'm here with my co-founder, Jelena Oxley, and we started Grand Stern Action together, almost 5 years, 5 years now?
November 2016.
Yes, so it's been quite a long time. And today we're here with our brand new intern, Tyler Williams, and I'm excited to bring her to you all and for you guys to meet her. This is her first live stream, and she'll probably be doing maybe another one or two before her internship ends. And so this is a new series that we decided we wanted to do. I've heard it said very often that white women are white first and before they are women, and then that Black women are Black first before they're women. Neither are women first. And so trying to create solidarity and accomplish sisterhood for future generations. As a mom of three, I hope that, my kids and y'all's kids will grow up in a better world than we're in today. We decided to make this a series called Allies and Accomplices, Comrades and Co-Conspirators. So the reason why we have those words in there instead of just allies or allyship is personally, a lot of my friends in the organizing and activist world do not like the word ally, and they prefer using accomplice or co-conspirator. So I put those in there in the title. And that is really where the name of the series comes from. And I'm not sure how many episodes we'll do, but this is the first of at least a couple. So I'm going to turn it over to Tyler, our intern from Coastal Carolina University, and I will let her introduce her friends and her guests.
Thank you, Ashlyn. Hey, everybody. Everyone on here knows me, but my name is Tyler. Everyone just calls me Ty. I am from Coastal Carolina University. I'm a senior this year, thank God. But I'm a sociology major, so obviously I have a lot of interest in stuff like this and social justice work. So I added a social justice minor onto my program. And I also recently added women's and gender studies just because I wanted to learn more about women and just how, like Ashlyn said, how we can be a co-conspirator. I want my guests to introduce themselves just because they all have different personalities than me, obviously. So I want to hear from them. So Deyah, if you want to start, and then we can go down the list.
Okay, so good morning. My name is DeyahPereira, born and raised in Conway, South Carolina. I also attend Coastal Carolina University. I'm an elementary education major, a senior elementary education major, like Ty said, thank God. But I am really big in my community on giving back and trying to make sure that voices are heard, especially of my community, of the Black community here in Conway. So I'm very big on that, and I am very excited to be here and excited to help.
Hi, my name is Alexandria. I'm in my senior year at Coastal. I'm studying psychology with a minor in pre-law. I want to go into the legal profession. I want to bring attention to the limited amount of women of color in the field and just talk about that and become activists in that.
Hi, I'm Evonne-Sherman. I'm a native to the area. I'm an English major with a minor in public health at Coastal. My goal was to do epidemiology, and so that's like field work where like you do research on like big pandemics like this and just big innovations in healthcare. But I recently started doing more work in my own community, and I realized maybe we need a hospital, so I kind of want to do a real estate track and then get my contract license, that type of thing, and then one day hopefully I can go to a hospital.
Thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for being here too. Like, I know it was very last minute, but when Ashlyn told me to find 3 powerful Black women, I was like, okay, boom, Evonne. I know that we've been around each other a while now, so I was like, perfect. Deyah and I, we've had some good conversations, and then Alexandria is also my my social media coordinator for the Social Justice Club. So I thought, what a perfect way to introduce her, if not this. So we're just going to jump into the first questions. I don't want to like structure this, but definitely I want to hear from everyone. If you feel like someone maybe already answered the way that you would have answered, maybe just piggyback off of that. Or if you don't like necessarily agree with the question, you can always just take it where you want it. So the first question I'm going to ask is, what is something that white women need to work on if they want to create solidarity with Black women?
I'm going to start just to say that I found this question very interesting, but I feel that this is a very big umbrella question because for the simple fact of what's being asked. And so I want us to pay attention to the basis that we are all human, and race is a very low vibrational thing to base people off of. So I think the better question is, what can white women do to make the patriarchy easier? How can we, give people of color rights, So it's that type of question that I'll answer. So with that, I guess I'll say, like the old saying, put your money where your mouth is. Let's start advocating for rights. Let's start asking more uncomfortable conversations when we're in an all-white setting. For example, if you hear someone say the N-word, go ahead and attack that person. You have that right. So I guess using your white privilege to erase gray area. Because, a big thing now that people are saying is that white privilege is a thing, white guilt is a thing. I don't really agree with those terms. I agree with white privilege. That is a real thing. But what I will say is, at the end of the day, we're all human and we all have choices. So like, if we can just look at people for people and say that this person is allowed this right just as I am, I think we'll be in a better place, as Miss Ashlyn said earlier, But anyone else is open to answer, but that's what I have to say on
that. If you want to go ahead, Alexander, you're more than welcome to.
All right, sorry, I didn't know if you were going to go. I feel like to state that if you're a feminist or even that you stand with women of color is one thing, but in order to create true solidarity, it's more than just words, it's also actions. Therefore, some advice I would give to white women who seek to create solidarity with Black women is to educate themselves, support and uplift women of color, know when to listen, know when to follow, but most importantly, reflect on how your past actions have impacted women of color and then how they can positively impact them now and in the future.
Okay, so just like I agree with everything that they are saying. And like Evonne has said, this to me is a big umbrella question. Like solidarity, of course, I think we all know what solidarity means, but I felt like I needed to look it up to figure out what the definition on the internet is. So you look up the definition of solidarity, it is unity or agreement of feeling or action, especially among individuals with common interests. And another definition is a mutual support within a group. And then it was like, okay, mutual. All right. Mutual is like, oh, we're mutual, like, like we're okay with each other. And that's not how I want to feel like. I want to feel like we're more than mutual, So then I looked up the definition of mutual and synonyms for mutual. Sorry, education major part coming up. Okay. And in that, a synonym for mutual is give and take. And I don't think there needs to be a give and take here, right? I think that there needs to be an agreement, like the word solidarity, or like the word solidarity was saying in the definition, that there needs to be an agreement amongst the groups. No mutual, just an agreement amongst the groups. So in order for you to just give instead of take, a white woman to give, you need to realize, like they were saying, that white privilege is a thing. And you shouldn't just want to be like, okay, I want to give to women of color because it makes me feel good in the inside, or I want to be recognized for what I'm doing, or I want them to say thank you. Like, you need to give and honestly understand that a woman is a woman, a person is a person, regardless of their color. Do what's right for everyone, not just what's right for that person. There's no give and take. Give give, what do they say in church? They're like, give.
Yeah, you want me to help you out a little bit because I have something
Please.
to say. What Deya is really trying to say, but I guess I feel like it's hard for her to, say it instead of
Put
bouncing.
it in words.
What she's trying to say is, in order for white women, if that's the base of what we're saying is the conversation of who needs to build solidarity, it just needs to be this understanding that people are people, like we've already been saying, but like that could have been your son that got shot. That could have been your aunt that got shot for having an attitude with policemen. That could have been your uncle getting killed and choked in front of his own store for selling CDs. So the whole basis is not how can we get you guys to trust us? That's not the conversation. The conversation is we are living under a failed system that has failed us time and time again. But now it's being televised. It's on Twitter. So people are waking up. People are like, oh crap, this is a problem. What can I do to be an ally? That's the conversation. But what's not happening, like Alexandria said, we're performing. And something that we need to bring, I guess, to Myrtle Beach is this conversation that white women, unlike white men, your skin is white. So there's more things you can do in the office. There's more things you can do in legislation. So this is going to be seen by a lot of people, mayors, governors all over the world, et cetera. It doesn't even matter because you know what I'm about to say. You use your platform. Like you say, if you want to be an ally or a friend or whatever, use your platform. You guys are put in these spots because, men in this country think we can't really do anything. Babes, you can. That's the conversation we need to have. You're in this spot, put your money where your mouth is. Instead of giving one party rights, let's give Black people rights. Let's give women safety over their bodies. Let's really show what body autonomy is for women, I'm talking a lot because I'm very passionate about this, but this summer I got an opportunity with a midwife apothecary out of Atlanta for Project South. And Georgia's mortality rate for Black women is terrible because of pregnancy. And so a lot of midwives or women that do natural births and healing are coming in to save these women, and they try to outlaw that. So right there is a good example of how the system try to continue to ethnically cleanse Black people from this earth, not just America, but from the earth, like just killing us biologically. Biological warfare is real. So when I was granted this opportunity to speak, I really just thought it was dire because this conversation is so much bigger than what can I do. It's how can I use my privilege to help you? That should be the question if we want to ask it. Because if I'm being honest, I shouldn't have to teach you any of this. The African diaspora was taken from me. I don't know what I am. All I know is I'm African American. No matter if I do 23andMe, I will never know my own DNA because of slavery. So if we want to break the wounds of slavery and destroy these systems, we have to start from the ground up. So that means doing what you can in your own space. So that means teaching yourself. It shouldn't have to be a Black person's job, a Black woman's job, a Black man's job to have these conversations or to teach you this. That should be common sense when you wake up in the morning because you have a kid or because you have blood beating in your veins, because you have motivation. If you care about people, if people want to carry this activist name or to be called a humanitarian, treat that other person like it was yourself.
Be humane.
Right. Like, do you think about it? The average Black person, I'm going to be real, does not feel safe in their home, does not feel safe in the store, does not feel safe in their car, does not feel safe in the street. So with that, how would you feel that was your reality? Every day there's a target on your back, So it's like, that's really where it takes me.
And much of these issues stem from the lack of education in our system. Like right now, what's going on with Texas? They're trying to pass a bill to prevent Black authors, women of color, just women in general, teaching that Christopher Columbus discovered something when he stole it, saying that it wasn't slavery, it was consensual, and just like kind of whitewashing history because they don't want to speak about the truth. And then when issues like this happen, they wonder why everyone's so upset. And it just like, it stems from our education system. And we really need to work on teaching that and talking about critical race theory and teaching white students and Black students and everyone their history.
And that's one thing that's very touching to me. Like they're saying, like, you got to start, like Evonne said, you got to start from the ground up. Like Alexandria said, it starts in our education. Just like I doubt many people in Myrtle Beach, Horry County area, now that they're trying to pass a bill to get rid of the critical race theory being taught in school. So the critical race theory being taught in school is basically acknowledging that racism exists and racism was here, and this is a part of our history, right? So because people, like, don't quote me, I forgot his name at the moment, it's not coming to my head, since he doesn't know much about critical race theory, he wants to erase it, right? Because they don't know that it's important to teach people so that people can treat each other as humans. They want to erase it. And erasing the critical race theory, let me tell you, that takes away slavery being taught in school, right? That takes away the civil rights movement being taught in school. And that's something that's passionate to me as a future educator, because if I want to teach in Horry County, I can't teach about being Black. So that means my fellow students, that means my babies that are looking up to me, all my students are my babies. That means the ones that look like me aren't being taught their history. And that's not fair. That's not right. So as a woman, as a white woman, how you can be support, how you can help, how you can give is to teach your children, hey, this is what happened. No, it wasn't right. No, it wasn't fair, but this is what we're gonna do to fix it. And find ways. And like Evonne said, like they were saying, you can't perform. You can't perform that. You have to genuinely feel that in your heart, okay? And it starts from your home. That's basically what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I'm very, it's like, you know?
Thank you. And I know Deyah, as a future educator, that's something that is obviously being struggled with around the world. Like Alexandria said, like, just education is unfortunately not a big priority for a lot of people in this country, and it sucks. Yep.
I know who you were talking about, Deyah. It's Ken Richardson. He is the school board chairman of Horry County, and I'll just go ahead and mention him by name and call him out because he's the one who said he didn't know what it was, but if it's divisive, I think were his words, then he's not for it. So maybe he can watch this.
If you're watching this, you look me up on Facebook. My name is right there, and you can message me personally. I'm fine with that, and we can sit down and have a discussion. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh, and if we're on the topic of governors or whoever watching this, if you don't include that in the curriculum, I guess you love white supremacy and you love the system we're currently in. You love that. So I guess, yeah, keep it going.
You want to take away the Black part of America, and that's not fair.
Not Deyah, not even. Literally not acknowledging racism, slavery, the systemic and institutional racism we're enduring right now. If that's not in the textbook, what will the textbook be? Because colonizing is what the 5th grade textbook is all about, if you think about it. I didn't forget 5th grade.
If we don't acknowledge it, we have people walking around here in ignorance, and we have people who say, oh, the Confederate flag stands for history. But if you actually look up the actual like reasons they left the Union, you see they mention specifically slavery. You don't teach this stuff, people are going to say stuff that's not factual.
Yeah, and it's scary.
Like, promotes this white supremacy. You
really get taught about racism, and I think Martin Luther King in 3rd and 5th grade. So what are you going to teach children? It's going to have to be lies. You know, like, what are they going to teach children if half America's history is of pillaging people? What are they going to teach? What are they going to say? We made rainbows with them. We some tuna salad and said thanks for your land. You know, like, what are we going to teach? What are they going to teach children if that's the basis of what's going to happen? That's what I want to know.
I was in a I had to do a lot of homeschooling this year and had 5th grade curriculum. And I almost called the school board because I was like, oh my God, they're teaching the history of like subdivisions. And like they didn't mention like the whole fact that like they were only open to white people until the second day. And then I was like, okay, because I was seriously ready to call up and be like, are you kidding me? Like, this is literally whitewashing history. But I was shocked. I mean, they're doing a better job. I mean, it's not radical history for sure. They're definitely not, covering all the bases, but I think it's better than when I went to when I went to school. When I went to school, there was really no discussion of, I mean, it was totally white supremacist history. So I think they're making baby steps. Do they need to be bigger? 100%. They do. But there's already so much pushback. Talk about Ken Richardson. Yeah, we were interviewed in the same little thing. And he was like, I don't know what critical race theory is. And I'm like, seriously? Because you can't condemn something if you don't know what it is. So, I don't know what's going to happen. We got a good old boys network here that governs Horry County. And until that changes, then we're not going to see a whole lot of legitimate change. So, but I'm too busy to run for school board, so somebody else needs to do that.
And I understand that completely. But just because you acknowledge that fact, Ms. Juliana, is that and you're like, okay, that's not right. So that's you as a parent letting your children, your students know, okay, hey, something's not like, this is not what I remember happening. I went through this. I don't remember this happening. That's the first step right there, especially with little kids. That's the first step, acknowledging it. And as mothers and as women, that's our job. That's our job. We got to acknowledge it, right? We got to let them know that, yeah, okay, this may not be what you're learning right now, but let me tell you so that you can go and tell your friends. Let me tell you how this really happened so that you can go and tell your teacher what happened. Okay, that's where it starts. That's where it starts.
So this brings us right into our next question. I know Evonne was talking about dismantling the patriarchy, and my question would be, can there be solidarity between white and Black women while the patriarchy and white supremacy is existing?
I personally think that there can be. Hold on, repeat your question one more time for me so I can make sure I hit every point that I want to.
So like what I'm asking is like, I know that around us it's systemic and it's institutionalized in our education, our healthcare, and in every system that we have. So do you think that solidarity is achievable between just white and Black women and like the sisterhood of just women in general while this is existing, while the patriarchy is existing?
Yes, because who do you think your husband is gonna, like, if he's going home to you every night and he's at the top of this white supremacy chain, who is he gonna listen to? He's like, maybe like, oh, hey babe, so I heard that this was going on, but that's not right. Let's do this. Like, this is what humans are supposed to treat humans like humans. We're the source of that. I think what I'm trying to say is like, a woman, in all reality, if we really want to speak about women are like the head of the household. You keep everything together, right? You keep everything how it's supposed to be, running on track. So you're the course that's always going to be constant. You're that constant solution. So if you put that into their ear, you never know what can happen, but you can't be afraid to do so, right? We want to speak up for women's rights. We want to speak up for Black people. We want to speak up, then speak up. You're the source of a problem may be sitting right beside you every night, maybe sleeping with you. So talk to them.
I feel like, as Deyah said earlier, solidarity is like a connection between people as a result of a common interest. And like throughout history, we could see that exact thing being just exhibited despite the occurrence of issues like slavery, voting suppression based off of race, and even white supremacy. So the occurrence of racial issues like white supremacy in present time wouldn't disrupt this solidarity between women of color and white women. Yet this isn't to say that things can't be done to strengthen this solidarity. White women should take this time to recognize while they may not support white supremacy, they still benefit from the occurrence of it in our society and use this realization to create equal opportunities and just speak up and like not be a bystander.
Yes, I completely agree with what she just said. And I don't know if I can answer it. I don't know if that's a yes or no question I can answer, because I don't know. Like, I feel like personally, I'm too young to answer that. I don't really know enough to answer that. But one thing I will say that is food for thought is I find it interesting that this is a discussion between women, when I kind of feel that white women and Black men, I feel like that's a more cohabitable relationship, for the simple fact that I feel like the oppression that you guys face is like similarly intersectional in a way, if you think about it. Like, police brutality definitely broadcast how Black men are treated in this country. But if you think about it, the epidemic on Black women, no one says anything about that. So I kind of feel like it's always just going to go back to action. We shouldn't base it off a relational thing. I think we should just base it off what's morally correct and what's not, like helping people. But it's just so many like stereotypes, appearances, nuances, and things to notice. Because in my short life, I have noticed how I see more similarities in white women with Black men than I do with Black women, and that's because of the oppression that Black women face, it puts us on a different page. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense,
No,
but
yeah,
it's like, if okay, let's say I wrote a book about people. I feel that Black women it'll take a chapter to write about us, but it will probably be one chapter for the two, because it's so many more things I feel that Black women have to deal with, and like you just said in the chat, it's literally an effect of intersectionality. It's literally cause and effect. So I think it's just a conversation people as a whole need to have, because you guys have experiences that I'm never gonna experience or witness, and I wish I could, and it goes vice versa.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Just because white women would be marginalized by the patriarchy, and then Black men obviously have male privilege, but white women have white privilege. So I think that makes total sense that there's more of a similar playing field for that.
And that's why before you say that, and that's what, and like, here's an example, and that's why in corporate America, who do you see the most and who do you see the less? Who's seen more? Who are we paying more attention to? Who are we neglecting? That's the best way I can explain it right now, but until I have more research to back it. But this is a theory I've been thinking for a long time, and I think people need to pay attention to it because the patriarchy definitely claps at it. Yeah.
So I actually want to ask, I know this is y'all are asking us questions, but do you think, as white women, that solidarity is accomplishable during this white supremacy? Do y'all think that it's possible?
If you would have asked me maybe like last year or 2 years ago, I probably would have said no until we could tear down the entire system and build it back up. Now I think that I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, and it may just be because like my daughter's 6, she's going into 1st grade. And I just want her to be raised in a culture and in a community that I wasn't raised in. So I think it's just me being hopeful. not necessarily pessimistic like I may have been in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ashlyn. I think it's largely, you know, it depends on your experience and what you do with it. I think there are some women that are never going to get anti-racist work. They don't see their privilege. And so part of our job as white women is try to show it to them, and explain what white privilege involves. I also think that I make an active effort to work alongside my sisters of color. And I think that my experience is that for certain like issues and topics, it's critical. And yes, absolutely, solidarity can be accomplished. It's hard to say whether it's overall ever going to be, you know, united solidarity. I think that takes work, and it's all a work in progress, right? It's all a work in progress. And so we have to become aware. So one of the things I think about is that sometimes I feel like my obligation to fight racism is stronger, right, than people of color, because I have less burden, right? Because I can go into a white space and say things and not get the pushback, right, that a person of color is going to get. So I feel like I need to do that more. But the problem is that can shift over into like white savior complex, right? So you kind of got to be real careful about how to walk that line, because I also feel that my goal is to give a platform, right, to women of color. Like I have a platform, but my job is to share that platform and to say, you know who I am, but like, do you not know who this person is? Like, they're even cooler and smarter and saying more cool things than I am. So, for me, it's a work in progress, right? I feel like I'm always learning. I'm always trying to listen, and get feedback and then try to, you know, be sensitive and teach my kids to be sensitive, you know, on the playground for them, in their school curriculum. My kid's dad, gave my older child the Oxford Children's Classics, you know, set of like 10 books. And my daughter got halfway through them and she was like, Mom, why is there no Black people in any of these books? And I was like, yes, like that's white supremacy. Like, you understand that everything that we think is great literature was all written like by colonials. All right. So they're getting it, right? And so if they can get it, they can spread it. But again, it's a lot of listening. It's a lot of being attuned, taking feedback and criticism, and not taking that personally. So I think, you know, just always having a willing attitude to be open, to listen, and to try to, you know, do the best you can. I feel like I'm better now maybe than I was 10 years ago, but I know that I can probably be a lot better in 10 more years than I am now. So, yeah, so I'm taking everything that y'all saying very carefully and writing it down.
That's what I'm here for. What you said, right? That's it. That's the key. And I ask that because, again, like you said, you're able to use your voice and not get as much pushback. But whenever you see a Black woman talking about the situation, it's, oh, she's just the angry Black woman. She's so full of anger. But it's not anger. It's emotion. It's maybe a hint of angry because of how we've been treated, but it's more emotion, and it's exactly righteous anger. It's more sad, and it's more of every emotion combined. So thank you for saying that. And to add on to what you were saying about the white savior complex, how to defer is if you're hearing someone talk about something, or you're having a conversation about that, and a racial incident in the midst of your white women, white friends, you know, okay, you can't speak on that because it hasn't happened to you, right? So that's something that defers white savior from bringing the topic up. Hey, you know, I can't, hold on, put these into words. Let me bring the emotion down, or bring the energy down just a little bit. I can't tell George Floyd's family how to feel, because I'm not in their situation, right? I can't tell a little Black boy at school who's being told that his hair is nappy how to feel, because I'm not him. All I can do is go to him and say, hey, you know, are you like, did that hurt your feelings? Tell me how that made you feel so that I can go and fix it. You can't tell someone how to feel. And that's the difference, I personally think, between white supremacy or not white supremacy, white savior, and being an ally, being a friend, being a supporter.
I definitely agree with you, Daya. And like, just as like a response to your question, because I am another white woman here, so I'm obviously going to use, you know, my privilege to speak up for things. Like Ashlyn said, like 2 years ago, I was really on like my communist manifesto shit. I was like, revolution or nothing. Like, there's no way that any of this is gonna happen. But I know that in my like interpersonal relationships, I realized that like, regardless if I think that way or not, like I still need to do something like now. Like if I'm not able to change things systemically, and like Evonne said, and I completely agree, that we need rights for Black people. Like we need laws that are for Black people. I think that like in personal settings, like you need to be okay with having those comfortable conversations. Like, okay, like Uncle Mike's racist because that was the way he was brought up. And I'm like, okay. And like, we all have the ability to change like our beliefs. Like you have to be okay with saying things to people. And like what Jelena said, like that white savior complex was like something that when I'm in conversations like these, like I have to think about, because I'm doing this for me as well, because I'm not okay with seeing like what's going on. Like if I went home and I was like, I'm a good person, like I did really good today, like that's that white savior shit that we don't need. It needs to be like for you. And like I was, you know, when we were in those conversations during our previous employer, the race-based conversations, like I recently had a conversation with, I was in a group of 10 other white people, and you know, they were just letting loose on whatever they believed in. And I was like, hell no, like you are not about to sit here and say all this shit. So yeah, like I definitely think that you can create solidarity in the environment that you are in, and that, you know, Myrtle Beach, Conway area, like you need to have these conversations, just because the society isn't changed and the institutionalization isn't changing. Like we still deserve to do it in the area that we are, because that's our reliability. Like we did this, it's our problem to fix. So let me pipe down that energy and ask you guys the next question, because this isn't about me.
I just want to point out one last thing to Daya's question. So on Facebook, the event cover, it was this viral photo from one of, I think maybe the first Women's March in DC. And I actually didn't even realize I know this woman from a DC based like project that she was in charge of. And I didn't realize it was her in the photo, but it's the photo. And she has like a lollipop in her mouth, and she's like, white women voted for Trump. And that's like the poster that she's holding up. And so when I was sharing the event around, you know, and Facebook, it like pops up your cover photo, and some older white ladies were like, well, not me. And I'm like, this is the point. Like, if you didn't vote for Trump, why are you commenting this? Like, just RSVP and show up for the talk. Like, I don't know. I feel like the need to point that out is a problem. And that was just ironic to me that it happened on this event for this discussion.
It's almost the same thing when men were like, oh, not all guys do that. It's still a thing that happens. Yeah, you may not do that, but a lot of people do that. And that's the same thing with like, yeah, okay, you didn't vote for Trump, but a majority of white women did. And that's an issue that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, I feel like the main problem is with all of this is that we're dealing with people that don't want to change. Like we're dealing with people that are so comfortable, like they go back home to their yacht and their Milan couch. Like, you know, like these problems do not apply to them whatsoever. So it's like, a lot of the problem is the majority is okay with the situation. So we have like this 35% that's like, we got y'all, you know? That's the problem.
It's like that saying, a lot of people say, oh, they won't care until it starts to happen to them. Like once white teen boys start getting shot up, people start to care. When there's issues, like with school shooting, they're like, oh my God, there's an issue. But as soon as it happens to a Black kid, it's like, oh, well, what were they doing? Were they being rude? They should have listened better. It only applies if it affects them.
So into my next question, what advice would you give both Black and white women on developing and sustaining successful relationships? Like,
I'm
you
just
know,
gonna
like,
say, don't do
yeah.
it. I'm gonna just say, don't do it. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. Get generational wealth for your kids. Invest in yourself. Do that later. Do that later. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm in this phase in my life where none of that matters. Like, go take care of yourself. Go get your own wealth. Like, if you can't do anything else, go get your own wealth so you can be free of this crap. Like, we can be in love. We can have these friendships later, because last time I checked, nobody was worried about that 2 years ago when there was no coronavirus. So go take care of yourself. If you can't do any, I feel like if you can't do anything else, live for yourself, babes. Live for yourself.
Personally speaking, growing up in private school and being surrounded by a lot of white people, one thing I feel like is a key to a successful relationship is communication. But within that, there needs to be boundaries, respect, a level of mutual understanding, and also support. Each element plays a central role in the longevity of the relationship and is necessary on both ends. And that's something I've definitely noticed when talking to white friends, whether it be about racial issues or just issues in general.
So have y'all seen that video that's going around of this Black girl in the bathroom, and she has this big fro, and a white lady comes up, she's like, oh my gosh, I love your hair, can I touch it? And the girl's like, no, you can't touch it. That is how I see life, right? Or I see a relationship building. Encourage one another. Hey, that was great that she was like, okay, I like your hair, I really like it. But like you said, Alexandria, boundaries. There's definitely boundaries that needs to be had, or like established. You get what I'm trying to say. So be open is what I say. And I know in a time such as this, it is so hard to be open. And I am trying not to cry because I'm in the middle of dealing with this being open situation myself, just not to make this about me, but to give context into how this whole topic is really important to me. So recently, actually on Juneteenth, my uncle was shot and killed in Kentucky by his white wife, right? And she got off. She got off and she's at home, and they claimed it to be self-defense. So the night that it happened, she went home to her kids while my uncle died. And that was I can't even put words to that feeling. And it's been so hard to try to not hold hate in my heart towards every white woman I see. But at the same time, I'm a religious person. I know that's not what God wants me to do. And I know that taking this step and being here and saying, hey, this is how you become a co-conspirator and ally, you just have to be open to relationship. Not every white woman is like the next, not every Black woman is like the next. But in order for you to build a relationship, you have to understand that that you as a white woman, you have a privilege, right? And you have to acknowledge that before you can build any relationship, right? I kind of got lost in the mix of what I was saying, trying not to have emotions, but there needs to be boundaries but you also have to be respectful for the ones that don't want to build a relationship. You can't force that relationship on others. So just be open to whatever answer you get from whoever you try to build a relationship with.
Yeah, that was kind of the reason why I said live for yourself, because if you just live for yourself and you just do by right, like, excuse me, if you just do right by others, there's no way to really mess up with anyone if you're just living for yourself.
I feel like another thing is I notice a lot of times when white women hear like, "Oh, I don't want to have a relationship," they get instantly upset. They're like, "Oh, well, if you're gonna act like that, then I don't want to help you." Blah blah blah. And as a white woman, you need to realize not everyone wants that, but that doesn't take away from the fact that like, hey, you should help. You should be a part of the solution. Don't get upset just because one person may not want to have a relationship with you or want you to help them in that particular situation. Everyone's different, but still be an ally, like help, do something.
I just
So,
thank you
oh,
for
sorry,
sharing.
Jelena.
That's really intense, and I'm so sorry. But I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because that just kind of encapsulates the whole situation and the whole problem with in our country. So thank you.
Of course, I think that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to do this. It's one of the main reasons that I am so strong in my beliefs, because I've always been taught to love no matter who it is. And now that I'm growing older and I'm seeing so many things happen and change the world, that I already knew our world was corrupt, but like now seeing it and being able to understand it is, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But thank I know this isn't the end, but I do want to just say thank you for having this discussion. Thank you to you three, especially Ty, because that's my girl all over. But thank you for being open to have this conversation, because many are not.
So yeah, you are very strong and you should not have to be. That's, I don't want to add to that emotional right now. We will text after. But so my next question, just kind of going off of that point of what you feel like you need, what do you feel like you need from us white women? Like, what do you feel that you personally need? Maybe not as a whole, because obviously you might not be able to speak for everybody, but personally, what do you feel that you need?
Acknowledgement. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge the fact that you have white privilege. Acknowledge that white privilege is a thing. And I honestly think we can't go anywhere if more women don't acknowledge that, and if more white women, don't acknowledge that, and if more white women don't step up and say, hey, we do have white privilege. Hey, it is a real thing. Hey, I doubt they're having the privilege that we're having, like acknowledgement.
I feel like for y'all to speak out on issues, but not to speak over people facing those issues, researching an issue doesn't instantly mean that you know more than someone who has experienced it, which is something white women need to realize. Repeatedly, I see white women try to teach Black women about racial injustice or even their own history. And there needs to be a realization of how this is a form of microaggression, spawned from the notion that people of color are unintelligent or lesser than the white man. And regardless of if this microaggression is intentional or unintentional, this is something that white women need to strive to fix and realize that they are doing it themselves.
I think to add on to that is just transparency and like not empathy, but like genuine understanding that like this doesn't just affect Black people, and that it affects all generations that come after that killing. Um, and I guess outside of that is love, because if you think about it, that's the only thing that like has really stopped anything in history is love, and that ability to put themselves in that other person's shoes and be like, is this necessary anymore? And if it hasn't been love, what has it been? Death or war. So like we're coming to phases where it's going to come to those decisions.
Thank you. My last question is, Ashlyn kind of touched on how like this is generational, and that Joanna, also being a professor, talked about how in her teaching she's noticed that things are not portrayed as what they are, and it's whitewashed by history. So dealing with generational issues, what advice would you give to white women about raising their white daughters?
I think I've been saying this. I think I've been saying this the whole time, but this is again the educator in me coming out. Teach them. Don't just teach them your history. Ms. Ashley, you are doing a great job by saying you want your daughter to be a part of something that she wasn't, like something that you weren't a part of. Take them to a daycare, an interracial daycare. Take them to interracial playgrounds. Take them to see the world, like show them more than just the white side of things. Because when they grow up, when they go into the school systems, they're not just going to see white people. Okay? America is not just white. Hello, it's 2021. Come on.
Like
Yeah,
Dave
I
said,
just want to respond to you, Daya, about that. I actually, I homeschooled my daughter last year because of COVID, and to get her ready for first grade, I put her in summer camp, and so I didn't want to put her in like any sort of like activity type, like dance or anything summer camp. I wanted her one that would reflect like school hours. So my two choices that I found were like Pepper Gettings and Mary Canty. And she ended up being put in the Mary Canty Rec Center. So she is literally one of two white girls in her entire all the kids. And so her being so young, like I just think it's a good way to start out like her life with friendships, because she just doesn't really know like anything at all, and she just thinks that like everyone's normal. And so as she grows, like we'll have to have different conversations and different hard conversations about the reality of the situation. But where I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, my school district was like 98% white, so it's just, showing her like how the world actually is super important. And I love that you're a future educator, because obviously like being a parent, I'm just like super in tune and super like worried about their education and what we're teaching them.
Alexandria, I know you had something to say. I'm so sorry, but amazing job, Ashley, amazing job. Because a 6-year-old mom doesn't know race. A baby doesn't know race. So they only know what you teach them. So she's the only one of two. Then she's like, okay, all these other people are out here in the world. It's not just like people who look like me. So I'm experiencing everything. And that's what it's all about, because the next generation is what's going to take over, right? If you show them that it's more to somebody than race, then life can be so much better.
Yeah. That's the hope. That's the hope.
children aren't born racist, they're taught this. Like as you were saying before, like they need to be taught like the true history of America, but like also have open discussions with your children about like racism. Teach them about their privilege, teach them how to use their privilege to help others without it. But like most importantly, like don't shield them from reality just because it's uncomfortable. I see this happen too many times. Well, my kid is too young to talk to them about racism. Oh, I don't want them to be scared or sad or hurt about it. But like that's the reality. Do you think these little Black kids are not being taught about racism? They have to go through it. They don't have the benefit of being shielded from it. And that's something that like white kids need to be taught. Because at the end of the day, the younger generation is our future. So like why not create one with social change?
Yeah, and just to add off what you just said, that's really important about like being a child and having a childhood. Black kids now don't have a childhood. I'm gonna be real. Like I don't think Black kids get childhoods anymore. Like sometimes I think maybe I could have had a better childhood if it weren't for racism and my safety. And then I grow up and I go to school and then I read narratives about Black kids that were written in the 80s. And I'm like, oh, so none of us really had a childhood, really. So that's the real difference. Like, we just weren't really, if you think about it, we never just were allotted those basic things that we thought were just, how you come up. We weren't really granted that.
Speaking of childhood, one thing I've noticed is like certain things, like how when white kids wear certain hairstyles or dress up a certain way, it's considered cute. But then when a Black daughter wears certain hairstyles or dress a certain way, it's like too grown. And it's the thing that like Black girls are taught to grow up faster. They're sexualized. They're like, oh, you have to be mature. You can't be childish. But then white girls are given the ability to be a kid, dress how they want without that same sexualization. Yes, all women get sexualized, but women of color get sexualized more, they're fetishized more, and that's an issue. And that's rooted deep in our society.
And I'm going to give you a personal example of that because I know it's my personal view. But, and this is again on Horry County. I love Horry County, but yes, we are a corrupt county, just saying. But going off of what Alexandria said, and I was a 9th grader in high school. And I had on a shirt, a little V-neck shirt. I wore V-necks all the time. And yes, I am blessed and endowed up at the top. But it was always, you need to button up. You need to cover up. What is wrong with you? I'm writing you up like, wait a minute. My mama sent me out the house dressed like this. And she ain't going to send me out no type of way. So what is wrong with what I'm wearing? And I see a white girl walking right behind me, but her outfit's okay. We're wearing basically the same thing. It's not fair. It's not right. And I know I keep saying fair and right, but like, those are the things I think that we need to understand. Race doesn't have to do with what's right and what's fair. Treating people like people is how you have to look at what's right and what's fair.
Even in history, that's been an issue. I remember reading somewhere that like Black women weren't like, rape wasn't a thing for Black women. Like they were the predator, like they wanted it. They couldn't be raped because they were sexualized. It wasn't like, oh, well, they were innocent, this happened to them. No, if a white man cheated on his wife with a Black woman, it was the woman's fault. It wasn't his fault. And that's just an issue. Like it just keeps happening time and time again.
So, and just to wrap that up, that question, teach your daughters right.
I think Jelena might have something she wants to add or ask. I see her brain.
Well, I'm always thinking, but I don't want to take over too much. One of the challenges that I think that white people have is that we're obsessed with excellence and being the best. And there's a lot of like white flight from like public schools. There's a lot of like white people trying to create white spaces so that they can be like the best. And this is just my personal diagnosis of having spent a lot of time with like white people. And sorry about that. My computer makes lots of noises. But one of the things that like, I'm curious as to your perception. So I feel like part of it is like what we value. And sometimes I think that there's lots of things that we need to value as a society and then also as parents, that it's not just like, do you have the smartest kid, but do you have the kindest kid? Do you have the most inclusive kid? Do you have a child that's like, stands up to other people? And so one of the reasons that like, I think about being in Horry County, and Deyah, you grew up here. And I can't remember if Evonne and Alexandria, if y'all also grew up in Horry County, but like we have a high number of schools with like high poverty rates. And I think parents struggle with whether they should try to get out of that. And the thing that I've been working on, like talking with my friends about, is that you don't leave the school system, you become the light in your school system. Like no matter how poor it is, you stay there and you push the teachers, you push the students, you encourage, and like you try to become a part of it. So I guess I'm just curious as to like how you feel, like if that's another role that you feel like white people can play, is like not running away, right? Not like trying to have white flight, but like stay in the system. And then like how to work together with Black parents, like the way Ashlyn's talking about, like go into a summer camp where your child's the minority. Like, we can look for opportunities to act on values other than, am I at the best one? Am I at the one where my kid's going to get like high test scores or whatever? So what do y'all think about all that?
So that's really interesting that you brought that up, because when I was 13 years old, that's when I first learned to never trust Horry County school system. I went to Whittemore Park Middle, was not far from my house. Just about everybody there was my cousin, but it was going around that Whittemore Park was an F school. Like, we're just terrible. And I'll tell you the facts about that school just from me going there and being on the honor roll every single year. Okay, we got hand-me-down books. The football team got hand-me-down clothing and pads. They're all beat up. My dad was a coach for 5 years, just about now, so I'm graduating. So I know a lot of secrets about this school. But outside of that, the truth about our grades, we were excellent. Just about everybody that was on the honor roll was Black. A lot of people had A's and B's. So from hearing that we were an F school and everybody Black had A's and B's, it was just crazy to hear that. Because even like the smart class, what's it called? It used to be called Pelican when I was in middle school. It was Black and white kids in there. So it was just crazy to hear that Whittemore Park was this bad school. So when I left there and I went to Carolina Forest High, I learned, oh, it's just because it's Black people and it's off of 378 where all the Black people live at. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just money. They want to keep us looking like a bad school. So then one day, Whittemore Park will foreclose and will no longer be known as a Black school. Boom. And that's a secret that they don't want people to know. Never was a bad school. Just got Black people in it.
That's it. And I was about to speak on the same fact, Evonne. I went to the same middle school. Look at us. We're about to graduate college. Oh, but
I have been the outstanding English student of the year 2 years in a row.
Exactly. But Whittemore Park is in the ghetto.
I'm telling you.
Go to Whittemore Park. That's a terrible. That's even to this day. One of my students went to Conway Elementary School, right? I'm very close with her family. And she lives right near Whittemore Park. And her mom is like, oh, I don't want her to go to Whittemore Park. I don't want, like, they say that's a terrible school. It's full of guns and violence and gangs. And because it's in the middle of the projects. Wait a minute. I came from that school, and you trust me to watch your daughter every day. You trust me to be with your kid every day. So is that school really that bad? I go back there all the time. I sub in that school now, but that's a bad school. And you want to speak on Carolina Forest? I didn't go there, but we knew that was the white preppy school, right? And everyone's like, oh, Whittemore Park's bad, or oh, Conway High School's bad. But do you really want to talk about all the things that Carolina Forest went through? The shooting, the stabbings, honestly. Do you want to speak on that? Thank you. But
the list is endless. I think there was like 2 shootings while I was there. There was a huge riot fight where it was like 8 different people fighting in the cafeteria, white people.
But see, that didn't happen at Whittemore Park when I was there.
We had drug problems. Like, the list goes on, and it's like nobody says anything about the people that have it, but it's like, but the attention's on the brown people. Why are we so interesting? That's what I want to know, because I feel like the older I get, I feel like there's always going to be a white person in my business. Like, it don't matter if I'm doing something good, if I'm doing something bad, it's going to be somebody knows in my business. Like, what I do, I must be so.
You don't need to say in your business, because it's not really in your business. It's around your business, trying to figure out what your business is. That's what it is. And I know we're talking about being allies, but I guess you can't talk about being co-conspirators without talking about the problems that you have, right?
Yeah.
It's white women that's trying to figure out, oh, well, she's Black, she must be doing something wrong, right? That's the feeling we're getting. Or, oh, you don't want me to speak on it. Oh, she's Black, but she can't be doing it. She had to cheat. She had to cheat to get to where she's at, right? No, I was raised right. That was it. My mom's Black and she raised me right. Come on now, let's speak on it.
Speaking about the schools though, like it's always like that notion like, oh, if the school is like private or has a lot of money, it's better. Personally, coming from a private school, being like, I think maybe the second or the only Black person there, private schools are not that good. Like the education system wasn't good. They don't set you up, because I know that a lot of students that came from there, they dropped out of college because they were not prepared properly. They were not teaching the right curriculum. Like it doesn't prepare you. It's worse than public schools in some instances. They cover it up because they have money. I know some people were selling drugs, but like no one's going to talk about it because there's money. Whose parents are funding the school? That is that kid who might have been selling drugs, like in the parking lot or some stuff like that, bringing guns to school and like hiding it in the truck. Like, yeah, it's a private school, but like there's still issues that happen. It's just that money that allows them to cover it up. Because I know once I switched to a public school, I was able to do more. I wasn't allowed to do dual enrollment, take college classes at a private school. I could do that at public school. I was able to take more classes, learn about more at a public school, not a private school. And it just needs to be talked about more. Like money does not equal like superiority in schools or just in general.
And that's just a little bit about our education.
I'm glad y'all clarified that, especially about Whittemore Park Middle School. I did a summer program for rising sixth graders around the county when I first moved to Horry County, like, 15 years ago. And the kids from Whittemore Park were just as awesome as like all the other kids. And yet people kept saying, oh, this is a bad school. And I'm like, I don't understand what's bad. Like the students seem great, just like the other ones that they're sending is great. And I think you're 100% right when Deyah and Evonne, when y'all identify that it's because it's predominantly brown people. Like that seems to be the only thing. And so then like, therefore they get less funding because the property taxes are lower. So it's like, we're setting the system up to fail. So anyway, I'll keep spreading all the good news about Whittemore Park because, I mean, as y'all know, Horry County is growing like hotcakes. We got people moving in, and people like moving in from wherever else, and they don't know what's up. So
they need to keep that school alive. Like my grandma, she's passed now, but that used to be a high school for Black people. Like they don't need to memorialize that place. They need to keep it as a school. They need to keep it going. Like keep the faith, literally. Because I'm gonna be real, like. If it weren't for that school, I feel like the
Black community of Conway would have been.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, but like just being around people that look like you makes you feel so much better when the world's telling you you're not enough. Yeah. Literally. That I don't know why people don't like, I don't know why our government does not want Black people to have our own stuff, but I'm here to tell you that's a reason. That is a reason. They do not want us to feel good when we're together. Because then we'll learn our power, So I'm thinking it's fear, but it's sad because I'm so thankful for that school, but it scares me because every year it was, I think they're going to try and close the school or something's going to happen to the school. It's always been that same narrative since my parents have been going.
Something's found, something crazy.
Well, before Jelena wraps up, I just want to thank you all for just sharing your knowledge and wisdom, life experiences. I love hearing from all you. All your personalities are they light up a room. Like, honestly, I love hearing from all of you. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you for having like a vulnerable conversation that some people find uncomfortable, but I think being uncomfortable is the only way that things are going to actually change. Because if you're comfortable in your beliefs and you're comfortable thinking the way that you have been for so long, unfortunately, we will not get anywhere in the world. So yeah, I just wanted to thank you all very much for this being my first little live stream, having these guests on here, beautiful guests. So yeah, thank you.
All right. Awesome job. Awesome job. So Ty, we just want to thank you again for organizing the panel, and Alexandria, Deyah, and Evonne, y'all were phenomenal. I think it's so important to have a wide range of voices. We don't believe in, just, having people to have to be, you know, the solo voice. So this was perfect to hear such a wide diversity in ideas. And we just want to thank y'all for sharing with us. I learned a lot. I think the things that I picked up on were great to work on. Stay communication. That communication is important. Make sure you know your boundaries. You know, acknowledging white supremacy and also white privilege, and then trying to, you know, carry that message over to, you know, my fellow white family people, like the people that are all that listen to me, and to teach other people what you know, what I know. So but also while trying to give, you know, proper credence and expertise to you as you know, amazing Black feminists. So so thank y'all for joining us today. So this has been our first live stream with Ty to organize. And so we're really excited about the upcoming year, and I can't wait to see you guys. And hopefully we look forward to having you involved with more of our work with Grand Strand Action together. So
we have another live stream coming up. Everyone watching, I believe it's Wednesday, the 28th, and it is on prison abolition. And so imagining a future without prisons. Yeah. We have Dr. Jenny Schlosser for that, and possibly one or two more guests joining. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be streamed the same way as this. And also, if you see the description box on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, you'll see that I've included their Venmos, our guests' Venmos. So if you would like to buy them a coffee, if you learned something today, please do, because caffeine is super important. So that is all we have. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Bye.